It feels like every few months I see a post from an artist saying that they're done with streaming. And it always goes the same way too. They post their numbers from a DSP payout and it shows them making like $42 for 100,000 streams or something like that. And at first, I thought they were exaggerating until I saw this.
Spotify is messing up on so many levels. Number one, you're already paying artists 0.00033 cents per stream. We've been living with that for a while. It gets worse. Universal Music Group owns half or more of Spotify because they said, hey, if you want to put our signed artists' music on this platform and we want to license it out to you, then you got to give us ownership of this company. And we got to get a different streaming rate paid out to our artists. But the artists that we sign in our 360 deals, they don't even get to make any money off of streams. Yeah, all the signed artists, your favorite people that you love, they only make money off of tours. And so where does that money go? Because 98% of the streaming royalties go back to who? UMG, for recouping the advance that they gave these artists to begin with when they signed them, right? So, UMG owns half of Spotify, and the business model is set up to feed UMG at a disproportional rate while artists get 0.00033 cents per stream. Then Daniel Ek, the CEO of Spotify, as a result of this business model, becomes a billionaire 5-6 times over. Maybe he could invest back in the app and make it better for artists, make it better for us to get paid and to have more equitable streaming revenue. No, we're not going to do that. He's going to invest, which he already did, $700 million in a AI military drone company called Helsing, where he is a board member. So anybody that is generating streaming revenue on Spotify, their music is making UMG and Daniel Ek money and is funding military drone investments that does facial recognition. Where you think they testing this stuff at? I'm just theorizing. But then it gets worse again. Spotify just updated their terms and conditions. And I don't know if it's in effect now, if it's going into effect. But basically, they reserve the right to exploit your music just by the basis of you uploading it to Spotify. They can remix your song. They can repurpose it. They can literally do anything with the work. You still retain ownership, but they can exploit it in any means, including changing lyrics, changing around the order of things. They can do anything to it. And once you sign on to that, you won't have anything to do. You won't be able to do anything about that. And I'm just so done with these tech companies that are bleeding the artists and consumers that make their position possible in the first place. Like, maybe make the platform better for us, but no, we just get Spotify wrapped in all these cool ways to map out how much of an impact we've made. Impact these pockets.
And what's crazy about that clip is that he doesn't seem to be alone in his thoughts and his feelings, right? Like, I'm starting to see a lot of sentiments from artists who feel exactly like that, citing things like, hey, they're using our creative energy, our IP, in order to create funds to do things that don't even align with where I feel, my art should be going, or, things that just make it better for us and make it easier for us to maneuver and grow our careers. So while the industry may label some of these artists, upset or bitter, I think they're just being honest. Because here's the truth. They sold us that streaming will be what gives artists the same leverage and access to the industry. But we're starting to see that that's not completely true. So today, let's talk about why artists are walking away from streaming and what comes next. But before we get into that, I want to take this time out to shout out some of the community members, because without you guys, we wouldn't be able to make these videos and these deep dives possible. So shout out to you, Rodney Smith, shout out to you, No Name, and shout out to you, K Love. And if you want to support the channel or hear your name in one of these videos, then hit that join button, check out the membership space. Now let's get back to the topic. Now, in order for us to completely understand why artists are feeling like they have to walk away from streaming, we got to start with the math.
How much do streaming platforms pay in 2025, and how many streams would it take to make $1,000? Let's talk about it. Now, up above, I have the most popular DSPs and the payouts per stream listed next to it. As you can probably guess, every platform is going to pay under a penny per stream, but there are going to be some that are better than others. So at number one, we have Tidal. To make $1,000, you're roughly going to need about 78,000 streams. Up next, we have Apple Music. To make 1,000, you're going to need roughly 133,000 streams. Next, we have Spotify, which of course is the most popular DSP. So usually most people are going to find most of their streams streams come from Spotify, 347,000 streams. Next up, we have Amazon Music, and you're going to need about 250,000 streams for that. And lastly, we have YouTube Music, which is going to take roughly 1.45 million streams to make $1,000.
So yeah, those are the real numbers that we're looking at in terms of stream payouts. And I can imagine how it feels as an artist to look at the landscape and sometimes wonder like, man, would I be better off selling water bottles at a football game than trying to spend this money to push this song to 250,000 streams just so I can make back maybe 40% of the budget that I put into it? Especially when it probably wasn't cheap to make the music, and it definitely wasn't cheap to push it, right? Like, some of you guys have run marketing campaigns. You know how much effort and time you might have to put into something just to even get 20,000 plays, 100,000 plays on one platform, let alone multiple platforms. But the really sad thing is it can get worse, because the platform you choose to upload your music can also impact how much money you earn.
So you might know that Spotify pays a different rate depending on if the person's streaming is coming from the United States versus India or the United Kingdom or Canada or whatever. It's a different rate per stream in every single country. What you might not know is that every distributor actually pays a different rate, and the distributor you choose might actually dictate whether you make more or less every single month from Spotify, Apple Music, etc. So you can see right off the bat, Spotify United States as of 2020, if we look at something like TuneCore, the average royalty rate is about 0.4 cents or $0.004 per stream, compared to Horus Music, which is 0.25 cents, 0.0025. Now we can flip over to Apple Music in the United States for 2020, and we see a similar story, although ironically, Horus Music is in first place. So this is the United States for Spotify and Apple, but what if we go over to the UK? It's a lot more flat here, so 0.48 cents all the way down to 0.38 cents, so this difference is a lot more subtle than before. One thing I can say across all of this, the two ones that stand out the most are DistroKid and TuneCore. So you might know that Spotify pays a different rate.
So you heard Andrew, right? Different distributors, different rates. At this point, figuring out how much money you're going to make from streaming has turned into a pretty complex math equation, especially if you're an artist who are really just starting to dip their toes into understanding the process to make money. You got to account for what platform the music is being streamed on. You got to account for where the person is streaming from, right? Like a US stream is more than a stream from like Russia or something like that. And then you also got to think about, who am I choosing to put my music out? And knowing that all of that can have an effect on how much you're being paid out for your work. And the different distributors one to me is crazy, because it's kind of like learning that, you know what I'm saying, the same meal costs two drastically different prices at different restaurants. You know, like one spot is selling chicken tenders for $5.99 and the other got a $15 special running on. It makes you wonder, what's the difference between those two organizations? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's going on here? But the whole system has basically retrained artists to think about quantity over quality, because the more songs you can create, the more content you can produce to promote those songs, the more you can build your catalog, and ideally the more streaming revenue that you generate. But the reality is that the more songs get uploaded, the more money the platforms make, and really the artists are getting what's left over. So when artists say they're leaving streaming, as much as it can feel like an artistic expression or even ego, it's really just starting to look like basic math. And even then, for a lot of artists, it's not even about the money. It's about the lack of communication with these platforms, the lack of transparency, and feeling powerless over something that they created.
I have to air this out. About a month ago, I noticed that one of my songs, Never Gonna Come Down, was added to an independent Spotify playlist for one day. It got 10,000 streams that day, and then it was taken off the playlist. I thought it was weird, but I really didn't think that much of it. And I never paid for any third-party playlisting campaigns or hired any services that were guaranteeing me a certain amount of streams. I had no idea who was running the playlist or why my song was even added to it. And a few days ago, I got an email from Spotify for Artists saying that there were artificial streams detected on my music, but they didn't give me any details on what songs were flagged. Even when I reached out to the Spotify for Artists support team, they weren't able to provide me with any details on which songs this was about. But I started thinking back to when my song Never Gonna Come Down was added to this playlist for one day, and I started thinking that that was the cause. A few days later, I was logging into my DistroKid account, and DistroKid is the distribution that I use to get my music onto Spotify, Apple, and everywhere else. When I went to log in, I got a pop-up that redirected me to a page that said that 98% of the streams from the Never Gonna Come Down song were artificial. As a result, Spotify removed the whole album that song was on, my album From the Woods. The album is still up on other platforms, but it's not on Spotify anymore. When I was on this DistroKid pop-up, I had to check boxes agreeing that I would never pay for fake streams, And I was even given a warning that sometimes artists and labels have to pay penalties when artificial streams are detected on their music. I feel like I'm being penalized for something that I didn't even do. And it's pretty concerning as an artist that anyone could add any artist's song to a Spotify playlist that has bots and artificial streams on it. And as a result, their music could be removed from the platform.
So imagine that, right? Like, imagine grinding for weeks or months or years, putting together something that you feel proud of, you feel ready to share with the world, and then poof, it's Thanos snapped away. No warning, no explanation, no refund. And I think that for a long time, artists have not been shy or ignorant to the fact that, you didn't buy a house. You're pretty much working on rented land. But I think we've gotten to a point to where the platforms are making sure to remind you of that. And they're not being shy about the fact of, we make the rules and we can flip the switch anytime. Wait, quick pause, because a lot of you have been asking, how can I work with you guys one-on-one? And yes, we can run almost any type of marketing campaign at this point, but honestly, we prefer working with clients from a consulting standpoint because we actually get a chance to deep dive into their music. We can work on their brand, we can work on their content strategy, we can tie it all together into a marketing campaign. Basically, we can give you a blueprint on how to grow, monetize, and win. So if you're an artist that's serious about getting their branding together, their content strategies together, their marketing together, then apply for a call with our country brand agency arm using the link in the description below. Serious inquiries only, please, guys. So if this sounds like something you need, once again, hit that link in the description. And if not, we still love you anyway. All right, guys, commercial break over. Let's get back to the video. Now, in this next clip, Jane Lee, aka Your Indie Moment, says something that really stuck out to me.
Every new thing came along to solve a problem and then created another problem. First, we had sheet music. Everyone played music, they didn't listen to it. And thanks to Mr. Edison, phonograph cylinder, wax tubes from the 1800s, could play a few minutes of music. For the first time, people had music in their homes, but it wasn't enough. So then came the shellac disc, the 78, standardized but extremely brittle. So then they invented vinyls, lighter, smoother, more durable. So vinyls solved fragility, but now the problem became portability. So then came the cassette tape that you could fit in your pocket. The Walkman allowed you to take the music anywhere. But then came the CD, more perfect sound. But then the problem became access. So then enters Napster. Why buy one when you can download them all for free? Piracy exploded and the music business almost ran out of business. Problem became ownership. So then enters Apple iTunes. Buy one song legally. But then streaming came along and said you don't need to own, you just need to have full access. And now, for the first time, the problem is not the convenience of the listener. Streaming solved access, infinite exposure, but microscopic payouts. Infinite access, loss of value. Instead of learning artist and music, we were bound by the algorithm. The algorithm feeds the music, the consumers consume. Infinite music everywhere, but zero intimacy. The listener turned into a scroller. The artist became a content machine, chasing playlist placements instead of purpose. And because artists get paid 0.003 cents per stream, it's about quantity over quality, isn't it? So music became faster, smaller, shallower, formulaic, shorter. Because when artists aren't paid enough to create deeply, listeners aren't given anything to deeply connect with or to. So the new problem we face right now is disconnection, isn't it? So what's next? Maybe ownership-based streaming, where fans earn equity for engagement? Maybe artist-to-fan ecosystems, where intimacy replaces algorithm, where you can build your own world, invite them in, and eliminate all the middlemen, where you don't have to do a million things to actually find out who your fans are? I don't know the future, I'm not a fortune teller, but one thing's for certain. Every new format solved a problem.
So she broke that down perfectly, right? And she said it best. Every new format of music solves an issue, usually for the consumer, but then creates a new type of issue for the artists and the people that have to work behind it in the music industry. And while streaming has fixed accessibility to music, and I think made it to where more people know about more artists today than I think any generation of music listeners. You know what I'm saying? Like the average music fan today probably has like 40, 50 favorite artists and may still be discovering new things. So while it may have opened some certain doors in terms of discoverability, in terms of more artists being able to get access, we can't ignore the fact that streaming has kind of damaged the relationship between artists and their fans, and it's made it very shallow and very transactional. And that hit me because even though we may be arguably exposed to more music as music fans today, music fans of yesteryear may have gotten to know their favorite artists way more intimately. They got to get liner notes, they got to go to shows, they got to really feel like they were a part of something. But now today, most artists just see their fans as a profile pic and a stream count on the DSP. But on the positive side, I think that everybody's starting to notice that that connection is missing.
I'm sitting here thinking I really just deleted all my music streaming apps. No Tidal, no Spotify, no Apple Music, and no SoundCloud. As someone who loves music and listens to music every single day, all day, I'm the friend that's going to send you a link regardless of the time of day. I notice how easy it is to consume music. The music algorithm from these streaming services are pushing projects to you based on things that you've listened to in the past. And for me personally, it's taking the intentionality out of discovering new artists, new genres, and new projects. I will be using physical copies of music such as CDs and vinyl records. And I will also be using NTS Radio. NTS Radio is a global radio platform that broadcasts music from over 50 different cities across the globe 24/7. Did I mention I'm doing this challenge for 15 days?
Now, you see that, doesn't that put a smile in you guys' heart just to see that fans are waking up too? I mean, she's literally detoxing from streaming. You know what I'm saying? Just treating it like she cannot fast food for a diet. And for me, this is what we've all been waiting for. We've been waiting for what artists need in terms of surviving and being able to scale their career to meet and match with what fans are thinking and what fans want from their favorite artists. Because that's when you know and start to see something really shift, when not only the artists are complaining about the thing, but the fans are complaining about it as well. And even better, even the higher side of the music industry is finally starting to admit it.
Where the music business is going is we are going back to direct-to-consumer. Direct-to-consumer basically means there's no middleman. If I sold Boomy a CD right now, that's direct-to-consumer, versus me hitting upload, putting it on Spotify and say, hey, Boomy, go listen to my music on Spotify. Well, Spotify would be the middleman because he paid them and then they gave me some money versus him just handing me a $10 bill right here, like it's direct to consumer. So that's direct to consumer, right? Now, the music industry used to be that when we were selling CDs, vinyls, 8-tracks, etc., right? But now, because of technology, we don't even have to spend that cost. We don't have to press up CDs and mail it off to FYE store. It's literally just a digital link. So it costs us $0. We put it up, they buy it, they get that digital link, they can listen to our music. So it's even more gravy for us now because there's no cost involved in us selling our music direct to our fans. And so there are platforms that we can do this on that we'll get into later. But the moral of the story is I need to, whereas 2 years ago I was training artists to build and grow their streams, right now I'm training everybody how to sell their music. Which I just wanted to make sure everybody understands that's where we're headed. We're headed into a direct-to-consumer economy. And so I want to make sure you guys are prepared and ahead of that curve.
So that's J.R. McKee, longtime music exec, and he said it best. The industry is going back to where artists have to go direct to consumer. Meaning you, the artist, have to be able to find people that care, not only about your music, but also about you, and then figure out a way to sell them unique products and unique experiences while also keeping the traditional music artist things a high quality experience as well. And it's as simple as that, right? Like that's the future. Artists going straight to the people without the middleman. And it sounds so simple, right? Because, I mean, let's be real. Being direct to consumer is not a new thing in the music industry. We've seen good examples of that from back in the day with like Master P and No Limit, you know what I'm saying? Even to like MF Doom before he passed. There have been a lot of examples of good direct to consumer relationships within the music artist community. But I think that everybody got so caught up by the streaming game. They saw all the massive numbers that were coming out of it, especially during the early TikTok viral era. And I get it. Everybody wanted to go try to play the game. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wanted to shoot the shot and see where it landed them. And a part of me feels like not only were we waiting for the fans to catch up with what artists needed to be in the industry, right? Like not only were we waiting for consumer behavior to shift, but we were also waiting for a good indie artist example to show that it's possible.
He's like, hold on, you got more than 100 people to buy my album and they don't know who I was? I was like, yeah. He's like, I'm posting this right now. He goes live on Instagram, posts it. He makes $27,000 in a matter of hours. I met LaRussell in September. I did a call with him. First thing LaRussell told me on the call was, Mag, why should we use Even when I'm already doing everything you're trying to do with your platform? Like, you're 100% right. You're already doing it. But the thing is, you can be doing 100 other things. We sent it, and the day we were going to go live, he's like, Mag, this just feels a little complicated. I don't think I'm going to do it. We get off the phone. So I call him back, and I was like, LaRussell, give me 24 hours. Let me show you what I can do first. And he's like, man, if you can sell 200 copies in 24 hours, I will post this on my social media. I call him, and I was disappointed. I was like, look, man, I tried. We sold like 170 or something. It's cool. Like, I get it. He was like, hold on. You got more than 100 people to buy my album and they don't know who I was? I was like, yeah. He's like, I'm posting this right now. He goes live on Instagram, posts it. He makes $27,000 in a matter of hours.
So that's Mag Rodriguez from the platform Even, speaking on the rapper La Russell, and yeah, you heard him. $27,000 in a single day. Not from a label, not from a playlist, but with sales from his family, his community that loved him and loves his music. They were able to come together and partner and create a system where they could monetize their most loyal and loving fans instead of having to beg somebody else for it. And you guys know how I feel about La Russell. You know what I'm saying? Like, he is one of the best modern examples of an indie artist who is also documenting it while he's going through it for his fan base and for artists. But even La Russell would tell you himself that even though this direct-to-consumer model seems to be the future of the music industry, that doesn't mean that it's any easier than building up your streaming platforms.
A lot of people are scared to go offer-based because they know they haven't done that work in the community and within their base to warrant that type of support.
You got to earn that kind of.
You got to earn that shit.
Yeah.
You got to earn that shit. For me to deem your art worth anything more than free, you got to convince me. That ain't just a given. It's like, no, what is this worth to me? Make me feel something, then it's going to be worth a whole lot.
So he said it best. What do you have to do to make somebody feel like your art is worth anything more than zero, right? People want to feel something about you, about your art, about what you represent. And if you can get people to lean in that direction and feel that way, then yeah, the sky's the limit in terms of what you can sell them and what you can monetize. But he also touched on something else that I thought was important. Most artists don't even attempt to sell their fans anything, let alone something crazy. And so it really becomes a 2, maybe 3-fold game, right? You got to produce music and produce content that makes a group of people love you and like you. You have to build and connect with those people so they feel attached to you, your movement, and your art. And then you got to sell those people things. And then rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And yeah, for sure it's easier said than done. But I just think that it's a lot of work to build your streaming platforms. And it's a lot of work to build people to sell something to them. It's going to be hard either way. You might as well pick which hard is more optimal for you. And the way I see it is that picking between the two could be the difference between begging for plays and building for your purpose. But you, the artist, still have to do the work because you can't just demand loyalty, right? You can't just demand artistic connection with your fan base. You got to earn it. And that's what a lot of the new generation of indie artists are starting to figure out. Now, I know by this point in the video, I may be inspiring you to just hop up, delete your Spotify. You know what I'm saying? You might have already been scrolling on your DistroKid account, getting ready to untick that little box. It says send to Spotify. But before you do, I want you to check out this clip because I think this producer actually brings up a really good point.
So look, I get why artists and musicians want to take their music off of streaming services. I mean, as producers and artists and songwriters, we are paid criminally low royalty rates for our music per stream. And so it's frustrating when you're trying to make a living off of this and you're getting paid fractions of a penny. But this is why I believe that it's not a good idea, ultimately, to remove your music from these streaming platforms. The first reason is that changing consumer behavior is one of the hardest things to do. I know it, all of these streaming services know it, and all these companies know it. So for you, as an aspiring musician, to expect fans and the audience to jump through hoops just to find and listen to your music and then ask them to pay for it, it's impossible. Now, it's a little bit different if you are an artist that already has an established core fan base that will spend money to pull up to your shows, that will spend money on merch, that will spend money in other ways to support you. But as an aspiring artist or musician, you got to meet the fans where they're at. Now, I've also heard some artists and musicians say that they're only going to start uploading 30 to 45-second clips of their music onto these streaming platforms and then try to drive that traffic to their website or another platform so that they can buy music direct from them. And why I also think that's not a smart idea is because fans are going to find you if they like the music. And by only uploading 30 seconds of your music to a streaming platform, you're not even giving yourself a fair shot at making them into a real fan. So yeah, I get it. I just think that there's other ways to make it so that fans can support you directly.
So that's Kato, the producer, and he makes a good point, right? Like, we can't boycott convenience at this point. The reality is that the music industry has created a monster. We've conditioned fans for years to be able to get access to all of the music in the world for $9.99 a month. And it's going to be an uphill battle, I believe, with fighting fans and fighting consumers against their learned behavior now. And even though that fan that I showed a couple minutes ago is, you know, one of the many fans who I think is seeing the light and realizing how important it is to support artists, yeah, we still got a long way to go before everybody feels like that. And I think, too, it also speaks to the reality of what phase of your artist career you're in. If you're in that, you know, you guys know I like to rank artists from a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being Drake, 1 being your auntie that heard herself singing in the shower, and then she want to put a mixtape out. If you look at yourself on that scale and you're anyone between like a 1 and 5, the reality is that, yeah, you got to stay on these streaming platforms because your big focus should just be getting people to listen to your music and feel something about your music. I think that one of the biggest mistakes in the music industry is that Spotify doesn't get the credit it deserves for being one of the best music marketing platforms there is. Like, if you look at it outside of wanting to make money from it and you think of it like a marketing platform, it's great, you know what I'm saying? But once you get into the other things they promise, then yeah, you can understand the criticism. But there is a reality where you're going to spend a large chunk of your time as an artist, especially in the building phases, where you are trying to meet fans where they are, because the reality is that they don't know you well enough to want to jump through hoops, to listen to you or to buy things from you. But as soon as you put that time in with them and you spend those months or those years like building real connection with them, then you can coach them to the point to where they will take those leaps. And not only will they take those leaps, they'll spend good money to jump out the window with you. So basically what I'm trying to say is that we still got to be realistic here, right? Like, streaming for a lot of artists is the front door that fans first walk through to discover you. But once you get them inside, that's when you have to focus on control and ownership. Basically, streaming is the ad and community is the business. Or I guess to put it another way, Spotify is basically where they can find you, but what you build after that is gonna determine what makes them stay. So yeah, when we hear about artists giving up on streaming, they're not giving up on music, right? They're just saying, hey, I give up on giving so much power to the middleman. And I really do believe that the next era of artists won't be chasing playlist placements. They'll be chasing people and chasing the ability to give them unique experiences, opportunities, and products. And they'll basically start to treat their fans like partners and not like data points or streams or views. So what do you guys think? Do you think that, you know what I'm saying, it's a bunch of hoopla and the artists who are thinking about quitting streaming and going straight direct to middleman are kind of tripping? Or do you guys also see that as the future of music and where you believe artists may have to take it? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Other than that, if you like this video, hit that like button, make sure you subscribe, share this with an artist that needs a little bit of gain today. My name is Corey, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.